Warning, the following episode contains major spoilers. In fact, it gives away the whole plot. All of it.
Welcome to Zombie Life with me, the very dead Ned. Now, a lot of people have been requesting that I cover more of the zombie classics. Actually, it was just one person, and it wasn't so much a request, more of a casual observation. Anyway, with that in mind, in this episode I'll be taking a look at what many would say was the first film that brought zombies to the attention of moviegoers, George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. Remember, please do subscribe to the channel if you like my zombie shenanigans, and hit that like button. Not too hard, or you'll break something. So, upon its release in 1968, Night of the Living Dead was criticised by some as being too shocking and too gory, which may seem strange. Compared to horror films going forward from the 70s, it was relatively tame in its on-screen violence. Although it's often seen as the first zombie film to get media attention, it certainly wasn't the first zombie film. There were previous zombie efforts, even going back as far as 1932 with White Zombie, another sinister black and white creepfest which starred horror icon Bela Lugosi. Okay, let's take a look and see if a 1968 horror movie can still provide the chills. As a zombie, I never view most zombie films as fictional tales, more like recreations of real-life events. The movie opens fittingly in a graveyard, with brother and sister Johnny and Barbara arriving to place a wreath on their father's grave, something they only seem to do once a year. Johnny is surprised that the flower wreath from last time they visited has disappeared.
Come out here and the one from last year's gone.
Dude, it's been a year! You need to visit more often! Cue a thunderstorm and a distant pale figure somewhat stumbling around. They don't pay much attention to this, and why would they? So far nothing seems too out of place. Romero is building his tension slowly. Johnny teases Barbara and delivers one of the movie's most famous lines. "They're coming to get you, Barbara." Suddenly, the seemingly harmless man who at first appeared to be just another visitor, who may have had a few drinks, attacks Barbara, dramatically changing the pace of the film. Johnny is killed, and the pale man, who we can now officially classify as a zombie, chases the fleeing Barbara. This guy is pretty nimble, not a slow, shuffling zombie that became more popular in future zombie movies. Although he couldn't have been that hungry, as he didn't stop to nibble on Johnny. Maybe he didn't like the look of him. In fairness, in the short time that we knew him, he was a bit of a dick. Barbara finds shelter in a nearby farmhouse. Seems like a safe hideout at first, but it soon becomes an even more sinister environment than the graveyard, thanks to its shadowy semi-darkness and creepy decor. Pale Tall Zombie is soon joined by some mates at the farm. I think they heard there was a party going down. We get our first shock when Barbara discovers the partially eaten remains of the resident of the farmhouse, and as she tries to flee, she's joined by Ben, who ushers her back inside. Ben can't get much out of Barbara. She appears to be in shock, so he heads outside for a bit of zombie bashing. I mean, never mind zombies being brutal towards the living, this is shocking behaviour. He doesn't even attempt to strike up a conversation with them. Ben eventually finds a light switch, which just shows up all the creepy things in the farmhouse even more. They start to barricade themselves in, although Barbara's efforts are a little half-assed. Ben launches into an eerie monologue, explaining his experience and how bad things seem to be getting. It's an effective moment of storytelling, and at first Barbara doesn't appear to be listening, perhaps already too psychologically disturbed by it all, until she reveals how she came to be at the farmhouse, before pleading with Ben to go outside and search for her brother Johnny. Ben manages to get a bit of information from the radio, where the reporter explains it all as an army of mass murderers who appear to be in a trance. He then heads outside to start a few fires to keep the zombies warm. Very thoughtful, although it's more likely he was trying to burn the f***ers. We get some classic zombie action next, with a large group ambling along the road, including a lady with a severed arm. They stop to munch on some dead people from a car accident, which is the first indication to the audience that these undead creatures are partial to a bit of human flesh. Ben tells Barbara that they're safely barricaded in. Well, he clearly didn't check the cellars, as two newcomers, Tom and Cooper, just walk on in. There's instant friction between the group, and the wife and daughter of Cooper are also hiding in the cellar. They now have a dilemma. Board themselves up in the cellar, perhaps the safest place to be, but with no exit. Or stay upstairs where they can keep an eye on things happening outside. Suddenly there's an attack through the window. Ben shoots a zombie in the chest, but of course this doesn't put it down. A second shot, nope, that doesn't put it down either. But a third shot to the head does. Don't worry, there's plenty more zombies on the way, and they're starting to look real nasty. Cooper heads back to the cellar to take care of his wife and young daughter, who appears to be sick, and another character, Judy, joins the team upstairs. Is there anyone else hiding in the farmhouse? But then Judy goes back down into the cellar, and Cooper and his wife come out of the cellar. Can everyone just please make up your minds? They sit down for a nice bit of television, where the reporter explains that the dead are coming back to life and attacking people. Yep, that's how we roll, my friend. They hatch a plan, make some Molotov cocktails to throw from the upstairs window, run out the main door, fetch the truck, fill it with petrol, and make their escape. Simple, eh? Tom and Ben head for the truck. Judy thinks what the hell and decides to join them. In short, the plan does not go well, to say the least, and it's goodbye Tom and Judy. It's a well-directed sequence by Romero, using minimal lighting with fire torches, and ultimately it's the frantic actions and desperation of the characters that causes them to fail. Ben races back to the farmhouse and has to kick his way in because Cooper won't open up. Ben is more than a little upset by this and lets Cooper know how he feels with his fists. Back outside, my zombie friends are feasting on more human remains. It's pretty grisly stuff for a film made in 1968. No wonder it had people running out of the cinemas. Another TV update is blaming it all on radiation levels, calling the zombies ghouls and suggesting people destroy the brains any way possible. Damn us on our weak spot. The zombies, quite rightly, have had enough of hanging around outside and start breaking in. Cooper tries to take control with the rifle, but when Ben gets it back, he shoots him, causing Cooper to stagger down the cellar and die. But what if Cooper turns full zombie and eats his daughter? Well, here's the sting. His daughter has already died, turned, and is suddenly seen dining on Daddy. Again, another bold move by Romero, who's not pulling any punches in the final act. Oh, and then she stabs her mum to death, multiple times. Romero keeps the shocks coming as the zombies finally get the door open and Barbara is confronted with her now zombified brother Johnny. It's a real shitter of a day all round, really, especially as he drags Barbara outside to a grisly death. That just leaves Ben then, who has no choice but to retreat to the cellar and finish off Cooper and his wife, who are on the turn. He manages to evade the zombie hordes until morning, where things are looking up. The zombies are being wiped out by the local enforcements, who are making their way towards the farmhouse. Hearing the gunshots, Ben cautiously emerges from the cellar and looks out of the window. Romero hasn't finished messing with us just yet, as Ben is shot dead through the window by the approaching gunmen. Bummer. Night of the Living Dead is still an effective and impressive piece of horror filmmaking. It was made on a very limited budget, but Romero made the best of this limitation by confining most of the story to a single location. This enhances the feeling of being trapped with no possible way out. And of course, there isn't just the threat of the zombies getting inside, there's the paranoia and mistrust amongst a group of survivors, leading to perhaps more confrontation with each other than the actual zombies. And interestingly, the word zombie is never actually used once in the film. Back when the film was made, zombies weren't actually known for their craving of human flesh. The idea of cannibalism came about whilst writing the script. Nowadays, any self-respecting zombie eats people. The film was also released before a proper rating system was introduced in America, which meant that anyone of any age could go and see it. Lots of screaming children, I can imagine, or very happy ones. George A. Romero wouldn't return to the wonderful world of zombies until 1978 with his follow-up, the epic Dawn of the Dead. Night of the Living Dead really is a must-watch for horror fans, and it goes without saying it had a massive influence on the zombie genre going forward. Thanks for putting us in the spotlight, Mr. Romero, and thanks for watching. Until next time, stay warm and stay tasty!